This for all the black men who voted for Trump. As you can see, he quickly revoked the Equal Opportunity Act, which might cause you to lose your job.
Joined now by DEI labor attorney Jason Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz, thanks so much for joining us. Just want to ask your initial reaction to the scope of the executive order and the employees placed on leave.
So nice to be with you. The scope of this order is huge, really dramatic change, not only for government contractors, but for all private sector corporations.
And Trump notably revoked the executive order signed by LBJ back in 1965, which prohibited discriminatory practices in employment decisions for federal contractors.
So in 1965, President Johnson made it so that you basically had to promote diversity and inclusion in the job place, especially in government contracting. There's literally people who are billionaires, black men, because of their government contracts. So this act was always a critical mechanism that made sure you had equitable hiring and promotion opportunities for black people and other marginalized groups within the workplace.
What sort of immediate impact could we start to see?
So President, as you said, revoked the 1965 executive order from President Johnson and has flipped the requirements so that government contractors now have to agree not to engage in any sort of DEI program that has
flipped the requirements. So you have to make sure and agree to not have a DEI program. Supposedly, it's going to make sure the most qualified people get the job. Everyone knows that the most educated people in the country, statistically, is black women.
It's a preference based on race or gender. So not only do they get rid of their affirmative action programs, but they have to agree not to engage in certain DEI practices. That's a complete reversal. The OFCCP is now ordered to immediately cease its enforcement efforts under the 1965 Civil Rights Program, and instead, contractors agree, again, that they cannot engage in any kind of preferential DEI programs. And the order suggests that that will be enforced not just by the federal government, but that private citizens are going to be deputized to bring what are called False Claims Act actions in order to enforce that government contractor requirement.
Now, the White House said that the executive order demands departments and agencies take strong action to end DEI policies in the private sector as well, and that the Attorney General should also encourage the end of DEI in the private sector. What could those actions look like?
So, Lindsay, the most dramatic thing about that is the president literally asked the heads of every federal agency to provide a list of 9 targets against whom they will initiate investigations and potential litigation to challenge private sector diversity programs that they believe are unlawful. So each agency is going to be on the hunt for.
So with the list, that's going to discourage companies from investing into inclusive hiring practices, is going to lead to fewer opportunities for black people, black professionals in the private sector. So pretty sure those people who have higher income, those black people who have a higher income, they're actually the ones that voted for Trump because they think he's going to put more money into their pockets. They associate Trump with putting more money into their pockets. Even though if you check the stats, more jobs were always created under a Democrat president. Always.
It's the mission is find the biggest whales you can. The executive order says look for large publicly traded corporations, large employers, large foundations, and send these lists to the White House so that the agencies can initiate investigations and litigation. I think that's going to be a substantial enforcement effort in the private sector, challenging lots of DEI programs at many, many companies.
Basically, without affirmative action and DEI, you can expect more wage gaps, more lack of representation within these companies, and more discriminatory hiring. And that's what y'all voted for.